Nick Diaz is a no-nonsense fighter who grew up on the streets of Stockton, California. With a blunt demeanor and insistence on playing by his own rules, the elder Diaz brother has garnered a cult following over the course of his career. The 37-year-old has shown a willingness to throw down at a moment's notice and isn't the sort of fellow who backs down from a fight. That said, despite his hardened exterior, Nick Diaz is a complex man with a fascinating story. So, for this video, we'll be taking a closer look at one of MMA's most popular fighters. As always, if you guys enjoy this video, then please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Now, without further ado, here are 10 interesting facts about Nick Diaz. Number 10. He had a challenging upbringing. As is the case with many professional fighters, Nick Diaz had a difficult upbringing. He and his brother Nate, along with their sister Nina, were raised by their mother in Stockton, California. Unfortunately, they grew up in a poor neighborhood with a father who wasn't around much. Raised on the streets, Diaz was bullied and got into more than his share of fights growing up. He bounced around from school to school and was given medication to keep him from being disruptive in class. Finally, fed up with the situation and tired of being ridiculed by classmates, the future UFC star dropped out of high school and never looked back. Having already trained in several combat sports, including karate, aikido, and wrestling, Diaz decided to focus on the fight game. Number 9. His girlfriend tragically committed suicide. During his high school years, Nick Diaz dated a local girl named Stephanie. Like Diaz, Stephanie also had a difficult upbringing, having grown up in a trailer park where drug use was commonplace. According to Diaz, the young woman began seeing his friend Bart in an effort to make him jealous. Given that Bart was known to carry a gun, Nick Diaz decided not to confront him. Love triangles aside, just prior to the elder Diaz brothers' pro debut, Stephanie revealed that she loved him. Sadly, the following day, on her third attempt, Stephanie committed suicide. The young teen had tragically walked in front of a car on the freeway. For some time afterward, Diaz would run 7 miles to the site of her grave and assure her that he would make it as a fighter, a topic they often discussed. True to his word, Nick Diaz would become a champion and eventual UFC headliner. Number 8. He competed in both jiu-jitsu and professional boxing. Nick Diaz has an outstanding combat sports pedigree that has helped make him a successful mixed martial artist. After years of hard work and dedication, he earned a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under the renowned practitioner Cesar Gracie. The Stockton native began training with Gracie as a teenager and has had a great deal of success as a jiu-jitsu competitor. In 2004, Diaz won the U.S. Purple Belt Open. He also holds a submission victory over 4th-degree black belt and jiu-jitsu legend Jorge Patino. Of course, Diaz is no slouch in the striking department either. He previously competed as a professional boxer back in 2005. Diaz received his boxing training from former WBC featherweight champion Luis Espinoza. His pro debut and only professional fight to date was a 4-round unanimous decision victory over super middleweight Alfonso Rocha. Diaz's versatile skills and years of competition have certainly paid dividends over the course of his mixed martial arts career. Number 7. He is a former Strikeforce, WEC, and IFC champion. Nick Diaz is no stranger to winning titles. In just his second professional fight, Diaz would defeat future UFC standout Chris Lytle via unanimous decision to capture the IFC United States Welterweight Championship. In March of 2003, the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu expert would submit Joe Hurley to win the WEC Welterweight Championship, a title he would later vacate. Finally, in January of 2010, Diaz would earn a TKO victory over Marius Zaromskis to become the inaugural Strikeforce welterweight champion. He would go on to successfully defend the Strikeforce strap 3 times, the most out of any welterweight champion in the promotion's history. Number 6. He's only been legitimately finished once in his entire MMA career. Nick Diaz has justifiably earned a reputation as being one of the most difficult mixed martial artists to put away. He has competed in a total of 37 professional fights and has been legitimately finished just once over the course of a career that has lasted roughly 15 years. True, KJ Noons holds a TKO victory over the elder Diaz brother in a fight that went down back in November of 2007. However, the TKO was due to a doctor's stoppage. To date, the only man to finish Nick Diaz in the heat of combat is a mostly forgotten fighter named Jeremy Jackson. Back in 2002, at UA4, King of the Mountain, Jackson managed to catch Diaz with a big left hand and followed up with a flurry of punches to earn a TKO victory early in the first round. The win would later set the stage for a trilogy that saw Diaz avenge the loss twice over. Number 5. He's been involved in several altercations outside of the octagon. One of the things that makes Diaz's career so unique is that some of his most talked about altercations weren't sanctioned fights. At UFC 57, Diaz took on longtime MMA veteran Joe Riggs. The two had exchanged some heated words prior to the bout, but when the dust settled, it was Riggs who emerged the victor via unanimous decision. As it turned out, 15 minutes wouldn't be enough for either man. Both Diaz and Riggs were sent to the hospital immediately afterwards, where they allegedly decided to continue fighting. Fortunately, security was there and eventually took control of the situation. Of course, there was also the infamous Strikeforce Nashville brawl. Jake Shields, a teammate of Nick Diaz, had just beaten MMA legend Dan Henderson and was in the midst of his post-fight interview, which was interrupted by Jason "Mayhem" Miller, who at the time was asking for a rematch. Gilbert Melendez, another one of Shields' teammates, tried to restrain Miller, who responded with a shove. The act prompted an all-out brawl in which the Diaz brothers and Melendez proceeded to pummel Mayhem. It's fair to say, there's rarely a dull moment when Nick Diaz is around. Number 4. He was once suspended for 5 years. Despite having a medical license, Diaz has been suspended for marijuana use on multiple occasions. Following his most recent fight with Anderson Silva, Diaz tested positive for marijuana. The failed test would mark the 3rd time in his career in which he tested positive for the substance. Since Diaz was a repeat offender, the Nevada State Athletic Commission initially came down hard on Nick Diaz. Initially, he was given a massive 5-year suspension and $165,000 fine for the infraction. However, Diaz and the commission would eventually reach a settlement that saw the sentence reduced to 18 months and a $100,000 fine. Despite the reduction, Diaz hasn't fought since the 2015 bout with Silva, though his manager recently announced he plans on returning to action in early 2021. Number 3. He was pulled from a UFC title fight for not showing up at a press conference. Diaz has never cared for the press and has been notoriously shy during interviews.
I wasn't going to do this interview, but they told me I had to, so.
Back in 2011, Diaz's disdain for doing media temporarily cost him a shot at the UFC welterweight title. Initially, the main event for UFC 137 was supposed to be Nick Diaz and George St-Pierre competing for the welterweight strap. However, Diaz failed to appear at the pre-fight media scrum, which had already been scheduled and paid for by the UFC.
The kid flew out, he signed a contract, he sat in my office and told me to my face he wanted this and he was going to do everything that we needed him to do. It makes no sense. It's beyond comprehension.
As punishment for the infraction, Dana White canceled the bout and decided to give Carlos Condit the title shot instead. Of course, Diaz and St-Pierre would eventually clash at UFC 158, a fight the French-Canadian won via unanimous decision. Number 2. He hilariously laid down in the octagon during a fight with Anderson Silva. Diaz's antics in the cage can often be as unorthodox as the man himself. The welterweight star is never shy about trash-talking opponents in the heat of a battle, or hitting them with the patented Stockton slap, a Diaz brother trademark. Occasionally, Diaz's in-cage antics can be downright humorous as well. During his fight with the always dangerous MMA legend Anderson Silva, the Stockton product shocked onlookers by playfully laying down in the middle of the contest. While the act was both memorable and entertaining, it didn't help sway the judges. In the end, Silva won the contest via a unanimous decision. Of course, the result was later changed to a no contest when Silva tested positive for a banned substance. Number 1. He had a sensational win overturned after testing positive for marijuana. Defeating former Pride FC lightweight champion Takanori Gomi in his prime was no easy feat. At the time, he was one of the biggest names in MMA and was sporting an outstanding 27-3 record. However, in February of 2007, Nick Diaz managed to submit the Japanese superstar. After a wild first round, Diaz finished the Pride lightweight champion with a rare submission known as a go-go plata. The victory would have easily gone down as one of the biggest wins of Diaz's career at that point. However, the result was ultimately overturned when the California native tested positive for marijuana. As such, the win was ultimately changed to a no contest. Luckily, his stock among fans and promoters, as well as his ranking in the lightweight division, rose considerably after he submitted a man many considered to be the best lightweight in the world. Years later, Diaz would also test positive for marijuana following his bouts with Carlos Condit and Anderson Silva, respectively. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Other than that, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.